Shabbat Shalom. This melody that you heard is one of the most famous themes associated with Tisha B'Av, the day of mourning, which is starting this evening on the 9th of the month of Av. The text taken from the Book of Lamentation can be found in your prayer book on page 358 at the bottom. The words are Hashivenu Adonai Elecha Venashuva Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem. Return us to you, and we will return. Renew our days as of old. During the evening, I will mention some elements of Tisha B'Av as appropriate. As you can tell, our Rabbi is off this evening for a very well-deserved vacation and entrusted me with the mitzvah and a real zchut of delivering the service to you today. Our service will begin with the words of welcoming the Shabbat, Lecha Dodi, in page 20 of our prayer book, Mishkan Tfilah. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekavela. 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 שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekavela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekavela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelecha, כי מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. Lecha Dodi לקראת כלה, Pnei Shabbat nekavela. Dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekavela. התעוררי, כי באורך תקומי אורי, אורי שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekavela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekavela. The last verse, we rise and face the entrance of our synagogue to dramatize our welcome of the Shabbat, bottom of page 21. בואי בשלום מעטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ברינה ובצהולה, תוך אמוני ים סגולה. בואי כלה, בואי כלה. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekavela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekavela. We remain standing for our call to worship, the Baruchu, on page 28. please be seated. On page 30, Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time, and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch Ata Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. From the world around us, of light and darkness, to the world within us. Ahavat Olam on page 32. Let's join in the Shema on page 34. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, לעולם ועד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Our Song of Liberation, V'mi Chamocha, on page 40, set to the favorite melody of Debbie Friedman. Nine, 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 nine. כמוך באלים אדוני, כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילותו עושה פלא, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקר היום לפני משה ומרים. זה אלי ענו ואמרו, זה אלי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק מהימנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. The bottom of page 42. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace, and raise us up, O Sovereign, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Hashkivenu. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamideinu shomreinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamideinu shomreinu lechaim. Ushmor tzedkeinu, uvoreinu, lechaim ulshalom, me'ata ועד עולם. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו אתה אדוני הפורס סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all of your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. On page 44, the people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat throughout the ages as a covenant for all time. ושמעו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות ברית עולם. ושמעו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמעו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמעו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמעו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות ברית עולם. ושמעו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות ברית עולם. A beautiful thought about prayer at the very bottom of page 47. Every word of one's prayer should be like a rose that is picked from a bush. One gathers rose upon rose until a bouquet is formed and can be offered to God as a beautiful blessing. For the tefillah, our Amidah prayer, starting on page 46, we rise.
אל עליון
נאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלע. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. Please be seated. This section of prayer, when said in the evening, ends with a prayer for peace called Shalom Rav. It's a very polite prayer asking, may it be pleasing to you to bless your people Israel with your peace. However, when this section of the Amidah is davened in the morning, as we do on Shabbat services or in our Hebrew school, it ends with a different prayer for peace called Sim Shalom. That has a completely different tone. It starts with a grammatical imperative, extremely directive, give us peace, non-apologetic, non-sensitive, almost a bit too Israeli. We need peace. We had enough. And today, in honor of Tisha B'Av, I thought it would be appropriate to borrow the text from Sim Shalom for the end of our Amidah prayer, to demand a little peace. And with the famous beautiful melody of Julie Silvers, if you'd like to follow along, the text is on page 140. Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha. Sim Shalom Tova uvracha. Sim shalom tova uvracha. Sim shalom tova uvracha. חן וחסד ורחמים. חן וחסד ורחמים עלינו. שים שלום טובה וברכה. שים שלום טובה וברכה. עלינו ועל כל ישראל. עלינו ועל כל ישראל. עמך שים שלום טובה וברכה. שים שלום טובה וברכה. Now, at the end of the Amidah, our thoughts turn to our loved ones and all those in need of healing, be this the healing of body or the healing of soul. Please bring to mind your loved ones as we join together in the Misha Berach on page 253. מקור הברכה those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. This week, we are starting to read the last book of the Torah, Devarim, Deuteronomy. Moses needs to teach and explain a lot to the young generation that were not slaves and haven't received the Torah on Mount Sinai, a new generation who knows only the desert way. Deuteronomy is Moses' teaching of history to the young people of Israel. As for us, the youngest people of Israel, we could also see the book as an invitation to review our relationship with our history. And then ask ourselves the big question: is history just what happened to us, or also what we do with what happens to us? On Tisha B'Av, we are supposed to moan and cry over terrible historical events. But crying isn't reparative, nor restorative, and terrible historical events keep on happening. What can we do to repair the wounds? What can we do to heal the world? As we pause for a silent moment, as customary in this part of the service, let's reflect on how history manifests in our own lives and how our own stories are creating history. Acceptable to you, Adonai, my rock and my redeemer. the Karlin. The fast of Tisha B'Av is a major day of mourning, referred often as the saddest day of the year. It commemorates several tragedies throughout the Jewish history that happened around the same date, give or take 2 or 3 days, starting with the destruction of the first and the second temple in Jerusalem, continuing with the expulsion of the Jews from England in 1290, the expulsion of the Jews from France in 1306, the expulsion from Spain in 1492, the beginning of World War I in 1914, as well as some notable horrors during the Holocaust, the expulsion of the Parisian Jews to the concentration camps in 1942, as well as the transfer of the Jews from Ghetto Warsaw to the extermination camp Treblinka. To commemorate all these horrors, many Jews observe the day by fasting, visiting loved ones who have passed, and attending synagogue to hear the Book of Lamentations. So I felt it is my duty to chant for you today from the Book of Lamentations, called in Hebrew Eicha, which means how. Eicha is one of the 5 scrolls, and it has 5 chapters, all poetic laments, that are mourning the destruction of the temple. The book contains horrifying descriptions of the magnitude of the horror with no light at the end of the tunnel. No consolation, no hope. Whether written by Jeremiah or by different poets, as some scholars nowadays suggest, it is told that the author inserted words of hope into the book, hidden in the content and through the changes in the alphabetical form. I decided that if I am to chant for you today, as someone always looking at the half-full glass, I have to look for the intertwined words of hope, of comfort, to find the hope between the lines. And I found something I haven't even imagined. I found sentences I was familiar with before, but I didn't learn them in Bible studies. And I went down the Google rabbit hole to find where I have read them before. I was extremely surprised to find them in the original text of the song that became the hymn of the land of Israel, Hatikva, the hope. More specifically, the old version that is called Hatikva Hanoshana, the olden hope. Naftali Hertz Imber collected and pieced together the entire text from biblical sources. So my next step was obviously to trace the sentences in the original long poem of Hatikva and translate them for you, the entire puzzle of biblical quotations. It went from Samuel to Job to Isaiah to Torah Temimah on Lamentations to Ezekiel to Eicha, Lamentations, and to the text of Kinot, liturgy that was written for Tisha B'Av prayers. All this supposedly hopeless text in the most hopeful hymn that is called the hope, Hatikva. Isn't that something? So here we go. With all the biblical quotes, my translation of the old Hatikva. As long as inside our hearts a Jew's soul still yearns, and toward the east the eye is longing, we have not yet lost our hope, the old hope, to return to the land of our ancestors, to the city where David dwelt. As long as tears from our eyes will drop like rain of elms, and tens of thousands of our people still walk on ancestral graves, we have not yet lost our hope. As long as the wall which we treasure appears in front of our eyes, and there still is a tearful eye for the destruction of the temple, as long as the waters of the Jordan vigorously filling the banks, outpouring, and with joy and loud noise will flow to the Sea of Galilee, as long as pure tears drop from the eyes of the daughters of my people, and weeping for Zion in the beginning of the watches will rise again in the middle of the night, as long as the feeling of patriotism beats in the Jewish heart, we can still hope today that our God will have mercy on us. Hear, my friends, in the lands that we wander, hear the voice of our prophet, that only with the last of the Jews, so will our hope come to an end. Go, my people, in peace. Return to your land. God is your healer with the wisdom of God's heart. Go, my people, in peace, and healing is soon to come. I found the hope in Naftali Herz Imber's help. The hope is in the peace and the healing, and in our legacy, in the generations to come. There's always pain, always something dreadful happening, always bad news. And through the cracks of our sadness and darkness, glimpses of light are sneaking in. We don't always see it. Sometimes we are not looking at the right direction. Sometimes it's well hidden between the lines or behind the words. Lamentations' penultimate verse, which I started this evening with, is the light in the scroll. This hopeful sentence is followed by a much darker one, and our sages, with their wisdom and understanding that it is most important to elevate the spirit with hope, created the tradition of repeating the penultimate verse at the very end. I will be chanting now the last verses of the book. אתה אדוני לעולם תשב, כיסאך לדור ודור. You, God, are enthroned forever. Your throne endures through the ages. למה לנצח תשכחנו, תעזבנו לאורך ימים. Why have you forgotten us utterly, forsaken us for all time? השיבנו אדוני אליך ונשובה, חדש ימינו כקדם. Bring us back to you, God. Let us return again. Renew our days as of old. כי ימאוס מאסתנו, קצבת עלינו עד מאוד. For truly you have rejected us, bitterly raged against us. השיבנו אדוני אליך ונשובה, חדש ימינו מקדם. Bring us back to you, God. Let us return again. Renew our days as of old. And may we always, always find glimpses of hope. Shabbat Shalom. For our concluding segment for the service, as we open the ark for the Aleinu, page 282 at the bottom, please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל העולם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נושא שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגוהי מרומים. הוא אלוהי השבותה אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
On this Shabbat, we now recall in great sadness those recently taken from our midst. Beverly Ann Daphner, sister of Gerald Daphner, and Jerry Alpern, husband of Enid Alpern. On this Shabbat, in love and reverence, the yahrzeit, the anniversary of the passing of Ethel Aronson, mother of Mark Aronson, Dora Camp, grandmother of Doris White, Ethel Horowitz, mother of Joan Klein, Sophie Glass, grandmother of Susan Holly Edelman, and Henry Ziff, father-in-law of Beth Ziff. For all those close to our hearts, for all those who there may be no one to say Kaddish for, we join in the Mourner's Kaddish on page 294. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותי, וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה, שירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמה, ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום, עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. Amen. Please be seated. Michael, any announcements?
Shabbat Shalom. Well, words can't describe what a fabulous service that was, and we really, really loved it. And I'm so happy it's being recorded on YouTube, and it'll be there for who knows how long. And your guitar playing has really very impressive. And I would have to say, Eric Clapton better look out, because Iris Karlin has kept coming after him.
The moment he'll come, I'll go accompany him on the piano. Not there.
But it was a beautiful service. Not much this coming week, but next Sunday, not this Sunday, but the Sunday following, we're having our second or third annual gathering in the garden. And that's for members and for people who are looking for a home, a spiritual home, or a religious school. By the way, the religious school is undergoing quite a lot of work. these last few days, this week, and it's going to be a much more beautiful and inviting facility for all the students. So that
And
should
we'll
be
do some
appreciated.
sing-along, so come prepared for requests.
Aha, so yes, Iris will be there.
Yeah.
Can you? At 7 p.m. that Sunday, Poetry Garden will be meeting, presumably outside, just continuing a few hours after the end of the gathering. So an hour later, right, an hour later. Thank you. And look forward to seeing everybody at the gathering. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you. Oh, Michael, you didn't say that. You didn't announce that next week a rabbi will be back for our Shabbat service. Very important detail. We will conclude our service with another take, more feministic, to the theme of the day, Hashivenu. No, we're good. Remember, O God, what has come upon us. Behold and see our reproach, our inheritance we haven't attended. Your children have lost their course. Hashivinu Eloheinu alayich v'nashuva, we will return to you. Hashivinu Eloheinu, and we'll return. Oppressed and misled, we continued believing, yet everything came with a price. We return to you, uniting our voices. If only this will suffice. Hashivinu Eloheinu alayich v'nashuva, we will return to you. Chadshi yameinu kekedem, hashivinu Eloheinu, and we'll return. Shabbat Shalom.